Welcome to Your Marriage Matters with Jim and Christie Jacobus. Our goal is to help you lay the foundation of building the marriage and life you both have always dreamed of. Welcome to Your Marriage Matters with Jim and Christie Jacobus.
Well, hey there, gang. It's Jim.
And Christie.
Jacobus with Your Marriage Matters podcast number 116. And babe, today we're going to talk about taking action.
Taking action. After you've put all your plans into place, let's do something.
Absolutely. And gang, we're in the last of our 5-part series on our acronym IDEA, standing for inspiration, discussion, education. And this is the last one, babe. Once we've done that, once we've been inspired, once we've discussed it, and once we've done our homework, now it's time to take action.
Right.
So, gang, welcome. Glad to have you here. If you're here for the first time, you're at the very end of a 5-part series. We really encourage you to go back. Christy and I are talking about how we made the decision to go full-time in an RV, which was a major decision with lots of moving parts. And but this particular acronym can be used for a number of different things. They don't have to be gigantic decisions, medium size or even small ones.
I had a couple last week who we used this, and they're going to do things to eat healthier. And they were inspired to get in better shape and eat. They were going to attack the nutrition thing. And it was interesting because even with a situation like that, they were inspired to get healthier. They discussed it. And when you think about it, you go, well, who wouldn't do that? But you've still got to be educated on all the different factors.
And how hard is it to take action on that?
Exactly. And stay disciplined. So we used it. We'll see how the results are because like everything else, there's a discipline piece with it.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Take action and then be disciplined in the action too. Exactly. Maybe you have to call this IDEA'd. Anyway, though, if you're here for the first time, we're so glad you're here. Please check out our Facebook group at Your Marriage Matters. And we have a brand new website launching here pretty soon that we think you're going to like. And it's going to make it a lot of fun for us to share some more resources with everybody. And we encourage you to do that. For those of you who've been with us from the start or caught it along the way, our download numbers are growing every week. And we so appreciate you guys and gals sharing the podcast with other people. Matter of fact, we encourage you to share the podcast with folks today that maybe need to take action on something in their life. And maybe they're stuck. So glad to have you with us. Again, gang, we've been talking about, babe, this acronym that I literally kind of came up with in the middle of the night. I don't think anybody else is using it out there. But anyway, IDEA. And we talked about being inspired to do something. And again, it doesn't have to be huge, but this is certainly a good process for big decisions. And then discussion, talking about it. And we talked about how important communication skills are. We talked about how important conflict resolution is because we may not have the same inspirations at the same time. And then we talked about how important it is to go get educated and all the amazing tools that are out there these days to get educated between social media, the Google, crowdsourcing in different ways. So again, quite frankly, one of the fun parts for me, I love the education part. Right. I love learning something new. So let me throw this question at you. When it comes down, we know tons of people who have ideas. They get inspired, and then all of a sudden, you talk to them a year later, and well, where did that idea go? Well, we just never were able to. Or how many people have we talked to that said, oh, we've been talking about doing that one day, but, and then that day never comes. So why do you think people get these inspirations and never get to that action part? What do you think is the biggest challenge there?
Well, I think there's several things that can come into play. I know myself, I struggle sometimes with indecisiveness, and this is a major decision. And I start to question myself, and I start to think, oh, no, this is such, what if I wait a year, or what if, and all that just kind of crowds into my mind. And it leads to indecisiveness on my part. And I think for a lot of people, it's that fear of what if I fail? What if this is, difficult? Or what if I'm leaving a great job and I can't find another one? Or what if, all those factors that come in that cloud us or cloud our judgment. And we almost self-sabotage ourselves. So I think a lot of times it's the fear of failure fear of making a mistake, or fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Well, so let me ask you, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm not done with you yet. I've got a little bit out of you there. But do you feel like some people, failure, it means a lot more to them? It's a lot scarier to some people than it is to other people, and maybe that's why they struggle with it? Or why do you think some people have a harder time?
Well, there's so much information about failure not being final,
Right.
and to recover from it. And there's even some thoughts that you fail often and fail forward.
Yeah.
It's by our failings that we learn more about ourselves and our persistence and our resilience. So I think the fear of failure can look like a lot of things. It can also, for a lot of people, think, if I fail or I make a mistake, how could it impact others around me? How could it impact me financially? So there's a lot of things that come into play here that should have been taken care of when we had our discussion in
Right.
our education, but still it doesn't take the emotion out of it.
Yeah.
Education is logical, but when it comes down to it, action a lot of times will be something that triggers an emotion within us.
Yeah, I have that meme that I use quite often that says, I never fail, I either win or learn.
Exactly.
And we've done a lot of learning here lately. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Ooh, but it's, quite frankly though, it's been fun. I mean,
Yeah.
even today, I was doing some things, doing some maintenance around here for the first time, and it was hard and it was hot. I was up underneath the RV and doing something I've never done before. But when we got through, I was exhausted. You saw me, but I told you I felt great
Yeah.
because I tried something new, and again, what's the worst thing that could happen, I think, is a question we should ask ourselves a lot of times, and get some good answer for that. But you asked me a while ago what I think about why people struggle with failure. I think some people are actually afraid to succeed. They've been told they're not worthy, they're not capable, they're not able, and if they were to do something bold, they were to do something that's not even bold, but do something that was, interesting or exciting or different, and win and be successful at it, I think sometimes they're afraid that might call them to a higher level of accountability in a lot of other areas where they've been fearful as well. And rather than win and be held accountable to win more, I think sometimes they just don't try. And I've seen a lot of people that I think are more capable than they give themselves credit for. And sometimes I really see what I believe is a legitimate fear of success because somebody wouldn't know what to do with it. Because they bought into the lie that they're not amazing. And you and I believe that everybody's incredible out there. So
kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy or self-limiting because they think that can't be for me, or this inspiration is somebody else's dream.
Yep. So we've got fear of failure and fear of success. And again, one of the things people kept going, well, what are you going to do if it doesn't work out? Well, we're going to go to plan B, and plan B was to buy a house in Dallas-Fort Worth anyway. That's our fallback plan. But what's the worst that can happen? Can somebody cook you and eat you, or you're just going to learn something from it? And by the way, most successful people are successful because they failed a lot more times than unsuccessful people have.
Right.
Because they keep trying to keep learning from the failure so that they can get better and better and better.
Right.
So,
and a lot of what we talked about with the discussion and the education is to prevent that or to minimize it maybe, but there's no way that you could ever have all the facts and all the data. And if you wait for that to make your action, then you're going to find yourself really delaying the action that needs to be taken.
Absolutely. So here's a couple of steps that we wanted to share with you, guys and gals out there this evening, that we feel like needs to take place in order to go from education to action. First thing is, ask ourselves what's going to have to happen for this plan to take place. What are the steps that are going to have to take place? What's going to have to happen? What things will we have to do in order to get there? And again, if you're talking about a simple decision, it may not be a big deal. But if you're talking about a new job, then you may need to get your resume together. You may need to research the market out there. You may need to talk to some people about what you're planning on doing. You may need to go back to school and get some more. There may be a number of things that need to happen. If you're going to buy a house, you probably need to get with a mortgage person and find out what you can afford. You need to start looking for places in your price range. Look at floor plans. Look at builders. I mean, just in our own decision making about going full time, We had to find an RV, all right, which took us a while. Then we had to find the truck to pull the RV, which didn't take very long. Had a pretty good idea what we wanted there, but you had to retire. We had to sell the house. I mean, all kinds of things had to take place. So make a list of what are the things that need to take place for this to happen, and then under each one of those, we need to
make a plan. We said at the very start, this idea is a process map.
Absolutely.
And this becomes your action plan of how you're going to get things done. It is so imperative that you have some type of plan so you don't go off without doing your research and make a bad decision, or you have some kind of plan so you don't put it off indefinitely, because there are people who will impulsively make a decision, and then there are the people who will never pull the trigger to make their dreams become a reality.
Yeah, they get that paralysis by analysis problem.
Exactly. So by having a plan that you've discussed and you've looked at with timelines and everything of when things are going to need to be done, then it helps make your action plan workable. Yep. So what's next?
Well, so again, you said it just a moment ago, and I totally agree with you. A lot of these conversations should have happened during inspiration, discussion, and education. We should have been mapping this thing out, but what we're saying is we really want you to have a roadmap. Mm-hmm. In other words, these are, in our case, again, I can't use that because it'd be true in all of the cases, but in our case, we decided we wanted to go full-time in an RV. Well, we had to find an RV. Okay, we had to sell an RV. We had to find a truck. You had to retire. We had to sell the house. Mm-hmm. And under selling the house, oh my gosh, how many steps were underneath that?
Oh, yeah.
But each one of those, we want you to organize what steps have to happen under each of those major categories, which probably, again, should have been taking place during the discussion and education phase. But we want you to write it down, map it out. Mm-hmm. And then the next step is, what do I need to do right now? What's the one thing I need to do today to kick this thing off? And I've been through so many different coaching programs. I can't remember which one it was, but I'm sure it was with Keller Williams because they're so amazing. But there's a lot of data around out there about what happens when we have an idea, we decide to take action, and we don't do anything for more than 24 hours. Mm-hmm. The odds of that action actually ever taking place go way, way down. Mm-hmm. But if we take some action in the first 24 hours, and again, it doesn't have to be pull the trigger and go sign the papers on a new home or go walk in and tell your boss you're quitting. That's not what we're talking about here. But take some appropriate step toward the plan, in any one of the categories. What's the most important thing I can do right now? And so, babe, when you start thinking about what was one of the most important things we had to do right off the bat?
I think one of the things that we had to discuss at length was this a doable thing? Yeah. And we could have the inspiration. We had the discussion, but there's so many things that we had to say, can we make this work? Can we go from a 3,000 square foot home to a 430 square foot home? And there were so many things in there that we had to discuss and kind of work through that what we needed to do was get on the same page about a lot of things.
One of the things I remember, we had talked about it a lot, and I remember one day asking you, are you all in? Are you all in on this? You went, yeah. I was like, okay, because I'm going to start acting like you're all in. Because too many times in the past, I've gone off without you and I being on the same page. Mm-hmm. But when you said, yeah, I'm all in, then I was like going, okay, game on. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes it's just, let's make sure we're on the same page. All right, let's go. Let's do this. Okay, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? Mm-hmm. And for you had to research, retirement at the hospital. We had to hire a realtor to sell our house. We had to find the right floor plan. We had to sell the other. I mean, we had all kinds of things to do. Mm-hmm. But once we were all in, once you said, yes, I'm all in, then those just became action items. They became checklists because the big picture was standing out there in front of us. And for me, I don't know about you, but it was calling me, come on, let's go. Mm-hmm. And I was so ready for it.
Yeah. You brought up something that I think is interesting, though, because I had a conversation with our retirement specialist. And many times people can't retire in a month or 2 months or 6 months or even within the year. So they can make plans now based on the idea to really set themselves in motions for 3 and 4, 10, maybe even 20 years down the road.
Right.
So I don't want people to think that action has to be within the next 24 hours, I'm going to do something major. Because like I said, in the case of retirement, you could make plans now and be inspired now that will impact you greatly in the future. So, but you have to be on the same page and you have to know what you're doing and what your action will be.
Right. Well, even with retirement, though, you may want to go take a course in financial management. You want to go to Dave Ramsey. I mean, who knows what you may want to do. But it's so important that we take some kind of action. And again, we're not telling you to go jump off a cliff or something. That's not what we're here for, unless you're a real daredevil. I mean, if you want to do those kinds of things, luck favors the bold, as they say. So, but we're not encouraging you to go make unwise decisions in that case. So bottom line here, gang, is what has to happen, what's your plan for each segment of what has to happen, and then take action. And, as Nike says, just do it. Yeah. Do it.
The
world's not going to come to an end. Yeah. So, babe, I've enjoyed this series because I see us using this acronym quite a bit in the future. And we even hatched an idea the other day about a course that we're going to be putting together that we're both excited about. We've done some work on it. We've done some outlining. We've done it. We're taking action on it. We've been inspired, discussed, and educated, so we're ready to go on that. And again, we just want to encourage you to do the same thing because we believe, first thing, God has amazing plans for you out there. And it's so much fun to get shoulder to shoulder and accomplish things that, maybe you haven't even dreamed of before, but one of you or both of you got inspired to do, and now you're getting after it. And it's fun to do that. It's fun to win together. It's fun to fail together and figure out how we're going to learn from it. But it's just really, more than anything else, it's fun to build that life that you and I both dreamed of when we said I do. And I just treasure every day with you that we're doing this. It's so much fun.
And I love you.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Your Marriage Matters with the Jacobuses. If you have any questions you would like to see us answer or an idea for a future episode, please go to www.yourmarriage-matters.com/QIF and let us know. We will do our very best to make it happen. And if you enjoyed the podcast, we encourage you to share it with your friends that are engaged or seriously dating. We are growing like crazy because you are passing it on. So thank you. That's it for today. We'll see you next week on Your Marriage Matters. Have a great conversation this week.